Well, today was the third day that we've seen freezing fog, and this freezing fog causes that rime ice, which just builds on top of really any surface that it touches, and that's exactly why these trees look the way that they do with that balloon-ish shape. Now, these foggy days won't be missed, and they're about to be gone for the rest of the week. You might see a little bit overnight, but it's going to clear up as those temperatures begin that upward climb. Now, strong winds are continuing across the Aleutians, but I'll tell you about that in just a second. Now, with these colder temperatures that we've been seeing, we actually saw temperatures 10 degrees colder than what we typically see. 17 degrees was our high today. And just looking across the state, we're actually seeing some of that warming trend beginning to build already. Now, this was Nome as of 24 hours ago. We're already 10 degrees warmer, but then we're still seeing that cooling trend across into the interior and even down into South Central. Now, the only region that won't see this climb in temperatures is going to be southeast. So the whole reason why we're seeing this warming trend happen is because this low pressure system over here near Canada is starting to pull into the interior. But these clear skies and colder temperatures are caused from this high pressure system up into the northwest, which is interacting with this ridge of high pressure down in South Central. But soon enough, that low pressure system is going to merge with this low pressure system over the Aleutians. And as those begin to merge, we're actually going to see those warmer temperatures begin to build mostly out west with that 5 to 15 degree climb. We're also going to see some of these impacts stretching into South Central, into the interior, as well as the slope. But southeast isn't really getting any of these, but we are seeing that this jet stream is carrying more moisture into the southern portion of the panhandle. So we're still seeing some wet weather into the southern portion of southeast rather than up into the central or northern portion. Now, one thing that I do want to bring to your attention, we have 3 low pressure systems out in the ocean right now that's going to be bringing in some weather. These are all going to interact with one another. So keep an eye on these and just remember these. And it's almost like a little game being able to spot these low pressure systems that we'll be seeing. So we can already see one of those out in southeast, which is bringing in these more wet conditions into the southern area where Ketchikan is. We have our second low pressure system out in the very far west islands of the Aleutian chain. And then that third low pressure system that we're going to be seeing is going to creep up right there. So there's those 3 low pressure systems that we've been monitoring. But this third one right here might actually bring in some wintry mixtures into South Central by Thanksgiving. Now, you can already see that mostly for the Copper River Basin, and that's going to bring some snow into the area by Thursday. This is mostly true for Prince William Sound, but mostly for those higher elevation regions. Now, for southeast, we're already seeing that wet weather staying centered in the southern portion of the region. Mostly cloudy skies, drier conditions moving in, but those temperatures still staying in the 30s. But into the interior, we're seeing some of those more sunny skies push in as a result of that high pressure still lingering into the interior. But these temperatures, keep an eye on these because the northern slope actually staying on par with the interior for some of those highs. And the north slope actually staying a little bit warmer in some cases than some of those areas towards the interior. Now, for western Alaska, mostly sunny skies expected into Tuesday. These temperatures are going to climb 15 degrees for Bethel, wrapping up the week with temperatures in the 30s, even into the high 20s for some of these areas that are in the single digits. So it's pretty interesting to see how those air masses begin to move. But out into the Aleutians, we're still monitoring those wet conditions where strong wind gusts are still a really big impact into some of those islands, reaching 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. But into South Central, we're seeing these mostly sunny skies for some of the areas, some wet conditions to some portions of the Kenai Peninsula and into Whittier, but mostly sunny skies and even partly skies moving on in. But Matsu and even into Anchorage, we're seeing these temperatures still staying really chilly. So, John, I'll talk about these 7 days later on in the show, not quite just yet.
Yeah.